So it appears that where everything just went wrong-o was with Saint Germain. Saint Germain was a saint that just happened to show up at the most opportune times throughout history in many countries, yes. And most people that don't know Jesus would think that that's the right way to go. So the Freemasons, the Scottish Rite, what they initially were something that was started as good. But this is why no societies should ever be started. Because, first of all, they get corrupted. That's what happened with them. Then they go on and they get more corrupted as time goes on. The problem is the societies will take you in the wrong direction while you think you're being taken in the right. So George Washington and Benjamin Franklin were Freemasons. Again, I don't think these men were not evil. They were not trying to take America into some dark path. However, because unlike the Pilgrims who knew Jesus, they didn't get into societies or do any of that. I've said before, there's a big difference between those men. I mean, that's how much of a difference 150 years makes. So, but the founders of 1776, although their hearts were in the right place, they were pulled in by science and alchemy and mysticism, and mixed that around with the Bible. So then there was a figure that appeared when they were going to sign the Declaration of Independence. So they wrote the Declaration of Independence, and there was hesitancy in signing it because once those men signed that, they were really signing away their death, because they were under the crown, and it was treasonous what they had said in that document. It was treasonous, which is why then we went to war. So they hesitated, and there was this figure that showed up that nobody really knew who he was, and he gave this outstanding speech that just drove men, yes, let's sign it, absolutely. But nobody really knows who he was. He was also the same man that was there, because Benjamin Franklin and George Washington knew who he was. They had recognized him the second time. He was there when the designing of the flag, American flag, was being created. So and then throughout history, even in France and Europe, everywhere, he came along and just at these certain opportune times. He's really been throughout history. I would say he's likely the dark one, the dark entity that comes along, and he has all of these talents. He had talents in philosophy and science and music. Yes, I'll show in a minute. The people that corrupted the Freemasons and the Scottish Rite early on was the Bavarian cult, a Bavarian society that infiltrated it. So you know what? This is why societies are just no good. Yes, this is the Count Germain, Saint Germain. He went by many different names. Yeah, I'm not going to go through all of them, but many different names. He was very unusual figure. He was either born in 1691 or 1712, whose real name and origins remain unknown. Was a European adventurer and interests and achievements in science, alchemy, philosophy, and the arts. He rose to prominence in the European high society of the mid-18th century due to his works and interests. He associated himself with some of the top contemporary figures, including Casanova, Voltaire, and Mozart. He went by a variety of names, as I've said. He is said to have had far-fetched claims, leading Voltaire to dub him the Wonder Man, and that he is a man who does not die and who knows everything. He influenced kings throughout history. The Count's birth and background remain obscure. Towards the end of his life, he claimed that he was the son of Francis II, Prince of Transylvania, which could possibly be unfounded. However, this would account for his wealth and fine education. There's so much. You can look it up. There's no way to go. I mean, he's everywhere. He's in books. You talk about something dark, which would come on the heels that this is a good thing, but always seem to be playing in the background. not good. Okay. In England, according to David Hunter, the Count contributed to some of the songs, the most famous songs in London. Yeah, he would give operas, and I mean, he had the talents of he was talented in every area. I wish I had enough time to go. There's so much throughout history on him. Saint Germain appeared in the French court around 1748. In 1749, he was employed by Louis XV for diplomatic missions. And then he did some writing as well. I just wanted to mention that this is some of his work when it comes to music. Yes, it's like he was an expert in every area of science, alchemy, philosophy, music. Talk about a jack of all trades. But music from English songs to every area of the world songs. So a lot of people hear, and it's a totally false path, but most people would disagree because they too want to mix the Bible with alchemy, science, philosophy. You can't do that. You gotta be careful with that. But that's why you hear this. It's about resonance, it's about frequency, it's about raising in higher consciousness. You know what Saint Germain was all about? Becoming an ascended master, because Saint Germain is considered another form of Jesus. Yeah. This was called the Triangle Manuscript. And basically, this is just one of many works he did. The two known copies of the Triangle Manuscript exist as Hogarth Manuscript 209 and 210. Both currently reside in mainly Palmer Hall collection of alchemical manuscripts at the Getty Research Library. In case you didn't see it, this is just a zoomed, two-headed, like a dragon. No idea what this says, obviously, but what I can tell you is that it's basically just a way to stay young. This goes a little further into it. Silver Talisman from the Triangle Book by Count of Saint Germain. Jewelry made, the only known version of this artifact. Its purpose is to extend the ritual's performer's life by 100 years. And then when you go to look up about this book, well, its subjects are, as you can see, alchemy, Hermetism, Freemasonry symbolism, Freemasons, occultism, Rosicrucians. Let's go back to this. I think it's more fitting. Yes, he believed in being an ascended master, and that he was that Christ was another ascended master like he is. Okay, so if you know anything about the Bible, that goes totally against it. Yet many people are following this path of they're going to become ascended masters. They just have to raise in frequency. They just have to do a vision board that's all positive. They just have to think positively. They just have to raise their frequency. And if everybody in the world would raise their consciousness through vibration and frequency, like through different forms of music and sound and all that kind of stuff that the science, likes to talk about on the Joe Rogan show, then you will ascend. Everybody will ascend and will go into the shiny gates of heaven together. Well, I can guarantee you, and I may be the only one in the world that is willing to say it, but it's totally a false path in every single way. And Ben Franklin, George Washington, it's not that they were bad men. Their intentions were right. They wrote the Declaration of Independence. It's a beautiful document. But who was always in the shadowy parts of everything that's managed to, we've been protected by God, but there's also been that opposing force, that dark part of our history that has taken us in the wrong direction. And it goes back to people needing to know who the true God is. Don't follow alchemy and science.